Hello everyone, and welcome once again to the Heir's Lair. I'm your host, aspiring author Jonathan Taylor. Today's video is another how to write video, this time focusing on political intrigue. As a member of a political party which has had some level of controversy in its young life, I am uniquely suited to have gained some level of insight into how this topic generally works. And with this video I want to provide at least some of that insight to those who are somewhat outside of the system. I'm not going to pretend anything I say is really groundbreaking or unheard of. It might be stuff that is already generally known, at least within political science circles or political discussion circles. But I will try to present it in such a way that it is more approachable or a little bit more expansive, a little bit more distinct, a little bit more complete in the way it's conceptualized. And now that I've touted my own horn enough, I also want to add that I am going to keep the advice I'm going to present to you as generic as possible, simply because I want you to be able to apply it in as many settings as possible. That being said, let's start this video by looking into the way politics are generally thought about, because there is a particular dichotomy at play here, namely what politics are and how people think about politics. And for regular people, both now in modern times and maybe all throughout history, politics has just been about influential people constantly trying to one up or pull rank on each other. And in order to do so, they will do and say basically whatever they think will either get them support or cut down the support others receive. And when people say they don't have any interest in politics, that is generally what they mean. They generally mean that they don't really care about this game of one-upmanship that politicians are involving themselves with. Even if the outcomes influence them or their standings, the actual play-by-play is completely uninteresting to them. And whenever they find out that a certain politician is involved in such games and displays of one-upmanship, they will not care. They will see them just as another politician. If a citizen sees some political figure as not just one in the crowd, that is generally for one of two reasons. The first one is they think a particular figure has good ideas on what it means to run whatever community they want to run or want to be appointed into office for. And the second is they find that said political figure is absolutely worthy of nothing but contempt, and does not want to see them holding any kind of position of power within that community. And these extreme reactions of either support or rejection are anchored into the second part of the political conceptual dichotomy, namely politics as a vehicle for social improvement. We all basically agree that this is what politics should be, but we disagree on what exactly counts as social improvement. And even if we don't disagree on that, we disagree on what means or what methods will lead to which results. Part of that I will admit is general ignorance. People just don't know because the more petty one-upmanship gets more attention. Or there might also be some level of bias at play, i.e. people want their own in-group to thrive, even if at the expense of even if at the expense of any given outgroup. That does factor into it, but it is not the sole thing that factors into it. You can also look into how the flow of information from within your story changes the way certain leadership and management concepts within politics are understood, and therefore how these misunderstandings perpetuate and lead to political figures championing certain organizational or administrative models being either ridiculed or demonized. Hashtag Foucault was right. There is a lot of potential for drama in this gray area of what a specific political ideology actually is, compared to what people generally think that political ideology is. But most authors won't really touch upon that, because either they recognize that their own view on politics is limited and they might not be able to represent that properly, but they also recognize that their readership, or whoever gets exposed to their stories, has biases and is likely to reject such a story, even if the ideology the author supports has well laid out reasons. Regardless, you still need this second, more abstract level of politics, i.e. vehicle for social improvement, so that you have a concept for what progress and justice should be, in order to fuel the stakes of the more striking and more dynamic area of the political conflict, namely the battle for approval and acceptance between various political figures. The second point I want to talk about in this video is how about how such a battle would unfold, and I will talk about it as though it were a game, because that's basically what it is. A game where previous winners have made the rules, and they are likely to make the rules in such a way that others like them are more likely to win, even if unconsciously. The first thing you need to consider is to look at the pitch, so to speak, and answer for yourself at least what kinds of positions and offices are available for aspiring politicians. And this answer very much depends on both the setting, whether or not we're talking about a republic, a monarchy, or something completely different, as well as the level or area we're talking about. Whether we're talking about a city, a county, or an entire country. A mayoral campaign will look different from a presidential one, for example. And you don't really just have to look at these leadership positions. You can also look into various other administrative positions and look into first thing you need to answer is what they are, and in order to do so, you need to look into why the community thinks that these particular offices are important for them. And that will establish what kinds of responsibilities these offices have, and what kind of benefits are tied to acquiring the position of head of the office. You don't have to do that explicitly, you can do that implicitly. For example, by people talking with deference about current or previous holders. You should also look into how the transition of power is generally managed within your society, both for leadership positions as well as for lower level administrative roles. Is there a line of succession? If so, how is the occupation of this line of succession established? Is it hereditary? Do you have to be appointed to the line of succession? If you have to be appointed, then who gets to appoint you? And are there any exceptions? Can you be stricken off that line of succession? Are certain positions or offices occupied electorally, i.e. by voting? If yes, then who gets to vote? And how did they decide who they vote? Answering these questions should give you the where and the what of the conflict. It should establish the stakes at play, and also establish the power play that the characters have to navigate. The second point of this question is, what do these characters actually want to achieve once they reach the office, that position? What are their goals once they once they reach that position? The previous question has you as a potential offer looking into various administrative or organizational models that have been put in place throughout history, and also models of transition of power. This one has you looking into ideologies, how people think about large-scale systems and interactions, and therefore how where they identify potential problems, what kind of potential solutions they can suggest for those, as well as how they will try to implement their solutions. There might already be rules or customs or conventions with regards to that, and these rules, customs, and conventions will dictate how certain people interact within their settings, and how they discuss and try to apply these points. However, suffice to say that these rules can be changed or even outright ignored. To which you then have to ask, what does it mean if these rules are flat out ignored? Are transgressions punished? And if so, how? I can't say. That is up to you. That is up to you to come up with the answers. That answering these questions should give you the why and the how. And with these 4 questions, what, where, how, and why, you should be able to map out a political conflict. How exactly that, what positions exactly that will define that level of political conflict, I really can't say, because that depends on who the people in your setting are, and also the kind of environment they come from, because that changes that will obviously change what they prioritize. It is dependent on a lot of things. I just wanted to give you a brief overview of something that is somewhat basic, but a little bit difficult to really put into words most of the time. The more astute among you might have noticed that there are 2 edge cases that that can emerge from what I've presented, and I will discuss these edge cases right now. Edge case number 1: the candidates vying for a certain political position have similar or maybe even identical ideologies. To that I say, they can still propose or prioritize differing solutions to differing problems, and that stems not necessarily from a political difference of opinion, but more from a personal one, from differences in their background and in how they approach various problems. So look into that, and you should be fine. Edge case number 2: a certain character has no ambition with the position other than just acquiring it for personal glory. Well, depending on the kind of setting you are writing about, it is very likely that said character will still have to convince others in order to receive the support necessary to win that position. And in order to win that support, they will adopt a particular political persona. And that persona has a specific ideology and or a goal that they want to see implemented. and will therefore act in such a way that this charade is maintained. what they do after they win, and whether or not they still maintain the charade, or how people react if they drop the charade. I once again really can't say. This is all up to you and your setting and the other characters that fill out the setting. But now you should have a bit more insight into how to write such a story. That was my video. Thank you very much for your attention. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like, maybe even share it wherever you think it'll be appreciated or useful. If you have anything you'd like to add, the comment section awaits your input. And if you want to see when my next video comes out, then I suggest you go ahead and subscribe. Ideally, you should also ring the bell or do whatever else you will ask of you in order to keep you notified, if you please. Until next time, I'm Jonathan Taylor, and this has been the Heir's Lair.